Number 10. Fake Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Let's begin our list with a controversial ripoff that some of you may have heard of. Back in 2015, a developer by the name of Lazada Polati released an unofficial version of Five Nights at Freddy's 4 on the iOS App Store for $9.99, almost triple price of the original game. Now, the game was an exact clone of the first Five Nights at Freddy's, even using the description text that appeared for that game. The ratings for the game were also copied and pasted from the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 official app. When players finished downloading the game, text in Greek would appear that read, "Where is the hidden key to unlock the treasure in the difficult maze?" The music in the game was removed, replaced with a bunch of random sound effects like wind blowing, dogs barking, a girl screaming, and other random sounds. Somehow, that made it through Apple's review team. So the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthon, filed documents to ask for a subpoena for Apple to disclose who the developer was. Eventually, the game was pulled, and Lazada Polati, the author of the game, remains a mystery despite this. Moving on to number 9, Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese. The creation of this fan game was kind of inevitable, wasn't it? A game like Five Nights at Freddy's, but placed in our very own real-world anthropomorphic mascot-ridden pizzeria for kids. Chuck E. Cheese's. It's perhaps the scariest version of Chuck E. Cheese's that we've seen outside of Shane Dawson's claim that they reuse pizza slices. Definitely Google that if you have no idea what I'm talking about. Anyway, this ripoff is stylized in the same way as Freddy's, but with different location graphics and a whole lot of terrifying Chuck E. Cheese imagery. Although it's worth noting that the Chuck E. Cheese jump scare, when he murders you, is alright, but he still looks real darn cuddly. It just feels like a blown-up PNG with some mild inverting of his textures and colors. The other downside is that this game, and several others on GameJolt's website, were at one point reported to contain malware that affected some players' computers. So if you feel like dabbling in some rip-off Freddy games, caution friends, you've been warned. Moving on to number 8, For Night at Fear. Ever wondered what a mashup of Doom and Five Nights at Freddy's would look like? Well, apparently someone did, because the result of that curiosity is this fan-made game called For Night at Fear. It's more so a Doom game rather than a Five Nights at Freddy's game, but it involves you fighting against giant fireball-spitting Freddy Bear ripoffs. It's also a Minecraft game, so make your own assumptions of it based off of that. Unfortunately, we can confirm it is less interesting than it sounds thanks to the lack of fluid movement mechanics found in actual Doom games, and it takes a while for you to even encounter a Freddy Bear.
And it's 7 Hello Puppets. Hello Puppets looks like a hell of a nope. Get it? This game basically puts you in the shoes of an investigative reporter looking through an abandoned kids TV show production facility where you get attached to a puppet that was supposed to take over your body, but somehow you end up awake through the whole thing and then you try to escape with the help of your puppet who slowly becomes your friend. I've seen Eddie VR play it and MatPat has done a theory on it as well, but the thing is, this could be the next FNAF. I know that it sounds bad the way I say that, but the only reason this probably won't be as big as it could be is because of the restriction it put in place with it being a VR title. If they released a flat version like they did with Help Wanted, then the game could be incredibly popular. The mystery is presented in a more mysterious way than some others on this list, and there are more questions than answers. The ending was obscure, and I'm sure that they can make more games like that in the future. The only thing limited to this game is the fact that it's VR only. I hope this game can really flourish because it looked so cool. Oh, I don't want to play it though, because that is terrifying.
Moving on to number 6, Bearhaven Nights Horror. The description of this game straight up declares that, I quote, "Please note that this is not another Five Nights at Freddy's clone." And guess what, friends? That's actually pretty spot on. Because this game is more like indie horror game Knock Knock. Context time. Knock Knock is a beautiful little game that's quite terrifying, taking place in an unusual cabin deep in the woods. The cabin once served as a lab, and the latest lodger there has started to notice strange changes in familiar surroundings. Things have gone missing, creepy noises and rattling can be heard, and there's something nefarious living in the surrounding woods. Sets the stage for something creepy, right? Well, Bearhaven has a similar kind of gameplay where you move through various rooms and look for broken electrical panels to turn on lights, all while hiding from teddy bears that have managed to get inside of this creepy motel. Not as good as Knock Knock, but still pretty fun. You need to turn off anything that would attract the Freddy Bear's attention. See where it takes the Five Nights at Freddy's inspiration from now?
Halfway through at number 5, Emily wants to play. It's 11 p.m. and you are on the last house on your route. The lights are on, the front door is open, but all the windows are boarded up and the lawn is overgrown. It seems like a strange place to order a pizza to, but at least it looks like someone's home. You run to the front door since the rain is coming down hard, and when you call out about the pizza, No one answers. To avoid getting soaked, you step inside, but then the door suddenly slams shut behind you. All you wanted to do was finish your deliveries and go home, but now you need to figure out how to get out of this stupid and creepy house. You can freely roam inside the house while trying to figure out what's going on. As you do, 3 dolls and a strange girl named Emily will start roaming as well. Stay away from them at all costs, but if you do get caught in a room with one, figure out how to survive. And you gotta make it to the morning, cause that's what every good horror game does.
And number 4, Five Nights at McDonald's. This title is a pretty self-explanatory one. Rather than it being a knockoff of Freddy and the gang attacking you, in this game you must survive 5 nights at a McDonald's, with Ronald McDonald stalking you, wanting to kill you, not surviving 5 nights of eating McDonald's and then having food poisoning. Also a plausible pitch for a game. Not for those with a fear of clowns, that's for sure, especially since Ronald looks like he crawled up from the depths of hell, along with his other McDonald's mascot buddies. The Hamburglar in particular is pretty unsettling.
And a 3 Siren Head FNAF clone. The Siren Head FNAF clone that I'm talking about here isn't actually available anymore from what I can see. The link Markiplier left in his video is no longer linking to the game, and I can't find anything about the game on the creator's profile. However, from what I saw of this game in the video, you sit in an office similar to that of FNAF 6 with 3 cameras. You can view those cameras and repair them, but you can also leave the office and potentially see Siren Head down the road. From what I can gather, the game is basically you trying to escape Siren Head by monitoring where he is, and when he is far enough away, getting outside, getting in your car, and getting the out of Dodge. Which you should be doing in every FNAF game. Honestly, if there is a freaking animatronic trying to kill you, I don't care how much you're paying me. Unless it's like at least 20 an hour. If there is a high risk of death, I'm not bloody working there. Okay? This is literally just a Siren Head game using the FNAF formula.
And at number 2, Seven Nights at Buddy's. Seven Nights at Buddy's is a low-poly borderline D-make of the Freddy games that has a subtle sense of humor that we actually appreciate, like a security camera map drawn in MS Paint. Ooh. For starters, it's worth noting that the developer has actually created a slew of copycat games, all with titles that contain arbitrary numbers and funny grammar, like Five Nights at Buddy 3, Night at Freddy 2, and more. They're kind of derpy and really funky to play, yet kind of existential and filled with dread and emptiness. Aside from your security camera map, you don't have much to work with, and most of the game is featureless. This makes the horrifying looking version of Freddy, aka Freddy, aka Buddy, even worse to encounter. It just slides on over and murders you, not before sitting outside of your door for what feels like an eternity. Definitely recommended for those who love a good parody, but also a fun little scare and dig internet humor. And last but not least, in at number 1, Five Nights at Thomas's. Where Five Nights at Chuck E. Cheese's failed, Five Nights at Thomas's managed to persevere. Aside from being kind of hilarious thanks to the threat being Thomas the Tank Engine, this wonderful little game involves you working at a pizzeria whaleway, or a pizza railway, feeding coal into an oven engine contraption, and a single door where Thomas lingers. You need to refill the coal in order to give your door power and keep it closed to keep Thomas at bay. It's simple but highly effective when Thomas manages to get through and murder you. It's a fun and minimalistic game and provides a solid scare if you're looking for a game that's not super committal. And a game where you're murdered by a nostalgic choo-choo train, if that's up your alley.
And 10, Outlast. Let's get the obvious ones out of the way first. Hell is an experiment you can't survive in Outlast. A first-person survival horror game developed by vets of some of the biggest game franchises in history. As investigative journalist Miles Upshur explores Mount Massive Asylum, you try to survive long enough to discover its terrible secret, if you dare. The asylum is in the remote mountains of Colorado, where for some reason this long-abandoned home for the mentally ill was reopened by the research and charity branch of the Murkoff Corporation. The asylum has been operating in strict secrecy until you break in to expose it. Acting on a tip from an anonymous source, you break into the facility and discover things that walks a thin line between science, religion, nature, and something else entirely. Once inside, your only hope of escape lies with the terrible truth at the heart of Mount Massive. With no way of defending yourself, Outlast does an excellent job in ensuring you will always be terrified around every corner, only being able to see with the night vision on your camera. Oh, that's spoopy. And at 9, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. Another obvious contender, Amnesia: The Dark Descent puts you in the shoes of Daniel as he wakes up in a desolate castle, remembering nothing about his past. Exploring the eerie pathways, you must also take part in Daniel's troubled memories. The horror does not only come from the outside, but from within the walls as well. The disturbing odyssey will send you into the dark corners of the human mind and have you begging for the sweet release of death. This is a game about immersion, discovery, and living through a nightmare, an experience that will chill you to the core. You won't know what is real. Are those footsteps behind me or ahead? Are you going to get pulled into the dark caverns of the castle, or will you make it to the other side? This game will fill you with anxiety the whole time you play, and you won't feel safe until the game over screen rears its ugly head. Not even if you stop playing. You're like, oh, gotta do it. And 8, Alien Isolation. Another obvious game that can actually contend, since this is available in virtual reality as well, much like FNAF's Help Wanted. Discover the true meaning of fear in Alien Isolation, a game set 15 years after the events of the Alien movie. Ellen Ripley's daughter Amanda enters a desperate battle for survival after going on a mission to unravel the truth about her mother's disappearance. As Amanda, you will navigate through an increasingly volatile world as you find yourself confronted on all sides by desperate, panicked populations and a ruthless and invincible alien. You are unprepared, so scavenging for resources is your only option. You need to improvise, stay on your toes, and use your wits, not only to find your mother, but to stay alive. Can you figure out what happened to your mother? Is she still alive? Can you survive the alien predator that guards this highly kept secret? You can try, but good luck. You'll need it.
And at number 7, Freddy EXE. Of course there's a Freddy EXE game. If you're familiar with Sonic EXE or the slew of EXE games that are ripoffs of other games, but generally use the same format, you probably completely understand how this game plays out. If not, let's give you the Cole's Notes version. Essentially, this is a basic platformer game a la the original Sonic the Hedgehog, where you walk your way forward to your own demise. These games always involve some sort of haunted demonic aspect too, and generally end with you dying regardless of what you do. It's all about the experience and the jump scares and the evil with these. So if EXE games float your boat, we'd highly suggest giving this one a go and exploring the other demonic forms that Freddy and the gang can be depicted as.
And at 6, The Forest. While yes, FNAF may provide a fair amount of jump scares, don't discount The Forest if you're looking for some good scares, along with a wonderful sandbox-like experience. This true survival horror game starts when your plane crashes on an island full of humanoid cannibal monsters and grotesque mutants who will leave you leaving your lunch on the floor. And I don't mean on a plate. The story involves you getting your son back from the red man who stole him, and in the end you realize he was trying to save his own daughter, but she ended up becoming an even worse monster than the others, thanks to his experiments. Will you do the same to Timmy, or will you stay on the island forever, knowing that he's safe in the afterlife, instead of dedicating the rest of his life to finding answers for the mutations that he's been fighting off ever since you gave them to him? Well, the canon ending is you reviving your son by using another child. You shoot down another plane and the kid that survives ends up becoming Timmy's donor, causing him to need to find answers in the next game, Sons of the Forest, which currently doesn't have a release date, but I'm still gonna play it, because oh my god, the game's so good.
Halfway through at number 5, Slender Man. Slender Man is iconic, don't get me wrong, but what has it done that FNAF hasn't? The character of Slender Man has gotten his own games, a movie, and countless fan recreations. The same thing has happened with FNAF, except the movie is still in the works. Is it actually still happening though? I read that Scott just wanted to change the script since it wasn't up to his standard, but is the movie planned? Are they still doing it? The way the world is right now, I'm sure it's on even longer of a halt than it was before. Anyway, it was actually brought to my attention that FNAF is more popular than Slender Man after going back and watching some map path theories for other lists. Before starting the FNAF series on his channel, he had a poll that asked viewers if they would rather see a Slender Man episode or a FNAF one, and the response was overwhelmingly FNAF. Which, if it hadn't have been, the games probably wouldn't be as popular as they are now. It's like how Minecraft got a boost from the Yogg's cast and their original series that changed to Survival Island and then Shadow of Israfel. I'm honestly still waiting on episode 43. Oh, and I'm still waiting on that Slender Man episode, Matt. Come on. Neither of you are watching. Cast isn't watching, KnifeHead isn't watching.
And at 4, Don't Let Go. Don't Let Go is a classic VR experience, first released in 2013 for the Oculus Rift DK1. Now a new experience has been added called The Desert. In these short experiences, you sit on a chair with your hands in front of you on a keyboard. The only rule is that you don't let go no matter what happens. The game will scare, shock, and persuade you to let go in the worst ways. Even with spiders. Okay? How dare you? The game requires a VR headset but no controllers, meaning that if you can get your phone connected with a program like RiftCat, then you can play without spending the big bucks. But remember, no matter what you do, don't let go of the keyboard. While this may be an old game, it is still scarier than FNAF. Sure, animatronics are jump scaring you in your face, but you don't have to have a spider on your face. They throw a spider at you. They just do. What? Why? Okay? That is the worst thing a human being can do to another. It should be considered a war crime. It's terrible. Ah! Oh man, and then the desert. Oh my god, snakes and scorpions. Nope. Nope.
Up next, number 3, 5-7 Nights at Fernando. This is a strange one. For starters, it feels like it was generated by some sort of game design bot. A mobile game available on the Google Play Store, its description reads that you, I quote, race against time to avoid the scary teddy bear that will run into your path as always. Similar to some of the other titles on this list, the game's developers have a sense of humor, including in said description of the game, where it says, it has been, I quote, played by a majority of Google Play Store community, and it has, I quote, cutting-edge 5 3D graphics, night and gnarly impact at Freddy's with 2 sound effects demo. Yes, that is gibberish. And also, this gem, I quote, one of the finest video games created in our time. It's not, in case the sarcasm went over your head there. And if it didn't, well, take a closer look. The game, which promotes itself to be some sort of Temple Run style title, kind of plays as such, except for the fact that you end up dying a lot for no reason, and often not even thanks to the bears attacking you.
Penultimately, at number 2, Layers of Fear. You take another drink as the canvas looms in front of you. A light flickers. You've created countless artworks, but never anything like this. Why not? It seems so obvious. Your friends, business partners, critics, they will soon all see, but something is missing. Was that a piano? It sounded like her, but it can't be, right? No, she's gone. They all are. Focus. This has taken too long already. It's almost finished. I can feel it. Your creation, your magnum opus. Dare you help paint a true masterpiece of fear? Layers of Fear is a first-person psychedelic horror game that will leave you confused about your own house. Similar to the gameplay of PT, you must travel the same corridor each time, but with something changing each loop. You'll find yourself asking if that chair was pointed that way last time, or if that candle in the distance was lit the loop before. Eventually, it will drive you so mad, staring into the mind of this insane painter, that you will begin to think things are moving around in your own home. Was my couch pointed that way? Was that the channel that I left the TV on? Was this the game I was playing? Yes, it was, and now you're stuck doing it forever. Finally, in at number 1, symptoms. You find yourself waking up in a random house without knowledge of how you got there. Your objective is to escape the house and not die, despite what the voices are telling you. I actually played this game on the channel and it made me so scared I didn't want to keep playing. I got stuck, but I probably could have continued if I wasn't so scared about messing with the TV again, cause like, Jesus Christ. That game, man. The game starts you off with a jump scare, sending you flying out of your seat, and then things just get hella worse from there. Bodies moving randomly, still figures that you were sure were upstairs just a moment ago, and bodies in bathtubs that will send chills down your spine and out your tushy in such a rapid fashion you'll be wishing you were playing this game on the toilet. It's nuts. It's a crazy game, and if you're into horror, I highly recommend it. At least I played through a FNAF night in this channel. I couldn't complete symptoms. Just
10 Bendy in the Ink Machine. Look, I know all of you Bendy stans are gonna hate me for this one, but there is no denying that FNAF is more popular than Bendy in the Ink Machine. One look at the Game Theorist channel page says it all. MatPat has done theories on both Bendy and the Ink Machine and Five Nights at Freddy's. Matt has made 6 theories on Bendy and the Ink Machine and like 36 on the FNAF franchise. Each of those Bendy videos managed to cross 1 million views, yes, but only one of them made it to 10 million views, and in total the views add up to around 33 million, which is extremely impressive, don't get me wrong, but the FNAF series on his channel has done so much better. First of all, Freddy has made it onto his channel banner. Second, the FNAF playlist is on the homepage of the channel, clearly recommending it to others. On average, his FNAF theories make it to 15 million views each, and while yes, some have more and some have fewer, I said average. The FNAF series has been so elusive in its lore, and even with these 36 theories, we still don't know what's coming next. So while you may love Bendy and think that that game is better, FNAF is the more popular franchise, and Bendy wishes it had its notoriety. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Time for the hate comments. And at 9, fan games. This one seems fairly straightforward, right? Like, of course the FNAF fan games want to be FNAF. They're literally just cloning the characters and format that Scott came up with. Well, that isn't always the case. There are some games that mimic that, sure, like Five Nights at the Krusty Krab and Five Nights at Candy's, and hell, even Five Nights at the Car. Kind of. But this isn't true with all fan games. The Joy of Creation, for example, breaks away from the regular FNAF mold in an exciting way, with the main character being Scott, and there even being 2 separate modes, story and survival. Sinister Turmoil Sewers was the Corn Maze minigame before the Corn Maze minigame was even a thing from the FNAF VR DLC. The Final Night series went in some really interesting directions, with you needing to sleep to pass time, and with those damn creepy puppets. And Dormitibus, don't even get me started on that. But the fan games, whether they play off the FNAF formula or expand on it, all have one thing in common. They're not as recognizable as the original. Let's face it, even if a fan game breaks all the rules of the series, being classified as a fan game limits the exposure of those games. While us FNAF fans know about Five Nights at Candy's or The Joy of Creation, those who just watch the map path theories or just know the name of the games wouldn't know how incredible those fan games actually are. And starting out a game career as a fan game maker doesn't really look good on a resume. Especially for bigger companies like EA or Naughty Dog. They would probably prefer original ideas. And at 8, SCP Secret Laboratory. SCP Secret Laboratory is a multiplayer online team deathmatch of sorts that puts you in one of 4 teams. The SCP items, Class D personnel, researchers, or Nine-Tailed Fox, or whatever they end up calling it. Basically, the facility has a major containment breach, and your job is to kill all the SCPs or get the researchers to safety. Your goal as a Class D personnel is just to escape, and your goal as an SCP, which is clearly the thing everyone wants to be, is my personal goal in life: wipe out all the humans. However, while this game is good, it isn't as well known as other SCP games like Containment Breach, Blackout, or things like that. So it's unfortunate to see a game I personally have had a good time in deal with that sort of thing. But if this game had this sort of story and told it in the same way that FNAF did, the game could be incredibly well known. It's still fun and free, so I suggest you check it out, but it doesn't have the notoriety of FNAF.
And at 7, Dungeon Nightmares 2. Dungeon Nightmares 2 is a first-person psychological horror game that takes you through a journey of discovering what nightmares really are. The game is inspired by classic roguelike games and includes a 100% procedurally generated map, which means each playthrough will be different, and you will play through multiple times since the game also features a permadeath system, meaning you got one shot, then you need to try again in a totally new dungeon, and again you only got one shot at that one. These features play an important role in making the game tense with the feeling of dread and terror as you walk through the halls. With the randomized dungeons, you have an infinite replay value, so when you think that there's nothing left, you are entirely mistaken. The game objective is simple: get through each dungeon by surviving the horrors within and the monsters that lurk deep in the bowels of an otherwise simple dungeon. Can you make it to the exit? Probably not. Challenge.
And at 6, Close Your Eyes. Close your eyes, shut your mouth, dream a dream and get us out. Well, actually, that's not the point of this game. The game is all kinds of screwy though. In Close Your Eyes, there seems to be another way to see, but it's while your eyes are closed. With your eyes closed, your sight basically goes into detective mode where certain items and things are highlighted. Oh, and a character known as the Witch can send you secret messages because you're half of her because you were her body before it was torn away because a nuclear apocalypse caused the destruction of the outside world. Yeah, this game is complicated, but not as complicated as some others. FNAF. But the lore seems to be more intricate than we originally planned for. The explanation for the husks along with the real world lore behind the witch has yet to be truly discovered, and this game isn't a VR exclusive title either, so maybe us talking about it and giving it some much needed attention can help us figure out what we really need to know. What the hell? Maybe we can figure out the lore definitively, because like, what?
Up next, number 5, Hello Neighbor mod. While it's not a complete ripoff of a Five Nights at Freddy's game, this mod is a pretty scary one we thought we'd include on this list thanks to its fright factor, and the fact that we can't resist a good mashup. Called the Hello Neighbor Project Five Nights at Freddy's, this mod takes the Hello Neighbor map and turns it into a Five Nights game. The house becomes Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, equipped with animatronics waiting to murder you and jump scare you in the same fashion that the neighbor attacks you in Hello Neighbor. The idea is that you need to escape from the pizzeria. Since it was created in 2018, it's only ever been a prototype, so who knows if it'll ever fully be finished.
And at 4, Case Animatronics. Case Animatronics is a truly scary and challenging first-person stealth horror available on the Steam store. Control of the police department is in the hands of an anonymous hacker. All exits are locked, the electricity is off, and metallic thumps are getting closer. Happy Thump Day. Can you as Detective Bishop survive? This game literally has animatronic in the name, and has been compared to FNAF by many. Jacksepticeye himself said that he wishes an actual FNAF game went this way, so it appears like it is some form of clone or copycat, but with free roaming abilities with animatronics that look like they're from special delivery. You play as Detective Bishop, who was working late when a few anonymous hackers shut down the electricity and I'm assuming set monsters loose on the cops. You have a portable tablet that allows you to watch cameras as you move around, which is a very interesting idea for a FNAF game, allowing you to check the places you're going rather than being stuck in one location checking around you. It adds another layer of fear and strategy into the game. The game goes for 11 bucks Canadian on Steam and has like 7 achievements, so it's kinda good.
And at 3, Silent Hills PT. The Silent Hills playable teaser was a first-person psychological horror game created as a free download for the PSN. The game was intended to be a playable teaser for the upcoming game titled Silent Hills, a form of reboot for the Silent Hill series. Unfortunately, however, the game got cancelled, and when it did, the playable teaser got pulled as well. Despite fans' efforts to get it back, nobody has budged, leaving fans to make remakes and fan parodies, one of which Amanda has played on the channel this past weekend. Go check it out, she plays Dr. PT, a Dr. Pepper version of the playable teaser. It's pretty interesting. I edited the video so I know what's going on, so you can trust me. The gameplay of PT focuses on you heading around the same loop over and over again, where you must solve puzzles to progress to the next loop. Additionally, you encounter a ghost named Lisa along the way, who, if she catches you, you will get a jump scared and sent back to the beginning of your loop. After you solve the final puzzle, a trailer plays revealing that the game was all a playable teaser for Silent Hills. However, due to the cancellation, we will never be able to play this again, and it sucks because I didn't get to try it. I want to. I don't like scary things, but it's iconic.
And 2, Try to Fall Asleep. Try to Fall Asleep is an older horror game that recently got a fresh coat of paint. The game revolves around the player who ends up having an accident where their brain gets damaged. The doctor you see prescribes rest as a way to recover. However, there are monsters haunting your dreams that are trying to kill you, both by keeping you awake and actually killing you. However, if you do fall asleep, you need to deal with nightmare levels. This game has tons to talk about, but not as many people are aware of it. Somehow, games like these slip under everyone's radar, even when a whole bunch of you would love this game. If you haven't tried it, I highly suggest you do, or find someone who's played it online. Finally, in number 1, Doki Doki Literature Club. Okay, I know all you Monica stans are gonna come for me now, but come on. We all know that while Doki Doki is popular, it's not FNAF popular, okay? This game, while trippy, has everything played out fairly straightforwardly. You realize what's going on and then you take steps to fix the problem. While yes, it's creepy and you end up watching terrible things, the lore is fairly easy to figure out. With FNAF, however, there is so much more to figure out and there is so much to deal with, it's impossible to do it all at once, and I think that's why FNAF is so addictive. We don't know anything for sure. Nothing is cemented in fact unless it's come from an official source of lore like Scott Cawthon himself. So it brings people back again and again to try to solve the mysteries that nobody had been able to solve before. Doki Doki doesn't really do that.